Welcome, everyone. Before the horror begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comment where you're from and what time you're watching. It helps YouTube bring the best horror straight to your screen. Now let's begin. What echoes in the sterile silence of a psychiatric ward when the screams die down and the lights flicker low? Some asylums harbor shadows that know your sanity's edge, their whispers pulling you into terrors that never discharge. Tonight, we admit 3 chilling tales of psychiatric ward horrors, where the padded walls pulse with something alive. Lock your mind, swallow your pills, and listen close. Because some wards never let you heal. Story 1. The padded wall that stared. The padded wall pulsed at midnight, its stained white fabric forming pale, unblinking eyes that glowed with a sickly green light, glaring from the shadows of a locked isolation room in a crumbling Illinois psychiatric ward. I was a night shift orderly, shattered by a patient's suicide on my watch. A young woman who hanged herself with a torn bedsheet after I missed her final plea. My supervisor's words, your negligence slicing through my soul like a dull scalpel through rotting flesh. The air was thick with harsh disinfectant and a sour, metallic stench of dried vomit seeping from rusted drains. The room cluttered with frayed leather restraints, flickering fluorescent bulbs casting jagged shadows and faint scratches etched beneath the torn padding like claw marks from something clawing to escape the walls. The eyes multiplied, shimmering across the fabric's frayed seams, their gaze heavy with accusation, as if they saw every shift I'd ignored her desperate cries. The concrete floor quaked violently, etching the words "stay here" in jagged glowing lines through the cracked tiles, pulsing green, as if scratched by unseen claws burrowing up from the ward's rotting foundation. The air turned unnaturally cold, my breath fogging in thick clouds that clung to the padded walls, as the fabric hissed, whispering my name in her fragile, broken voice, warped and hollow, accusing me of abandoning her to despair. My flashlight flickered wildly, its beam catching a figure emerging from the padding, tall, featureless, its limbs unnaturally long and skeletal, its void face glowing with those sickly green eyes, its stare searing my skin like frostbite through my sweat-soaked uniform. The floor oozed black tar, reeking of decay, forming clawing hands that gripped my ankles, their acid-like chill burning my flesh, leaving welts that throbbed with my racing pulse. I stumbled back, tripping over a loose restraint buckle, but the padding vibrated faster, the words morphing to "you knew," glowing brighter, the whispers swelling into a scream that rattled the room's reinforced steel door. The fabric pulsed, reflecting eyeless faces moaning my guilt, her lifeless body swinging, my delayed rounds, a life lost forever. The figure's tarry hands rose, scorching the padding with blackened streaks, the walls tearing open, dripping tar that shaped more screaming faces, each naming a regret I'd buried deep in my conscience. Every missed glance, every ignored sob. I bolted for the door, slipping on tar-slick tiles as the room quaked, the walls trembling, the faces screaming my name in a deafening, otherworldly chorus that echoed like her final choking gasp. I fled into the dimly lit hallway, the figure's shadow chasing, its glowing eyes piercing through the suffocating fog that smelled of blood and rust. I quit the ward, burned my uniform, but my walls glow at night, reflecting those pale eyes. In their peeling paint, my floor traces stay here in tar, shimmering under lamplight, and my skin burns, etched with the chill of that cursed room. Some walls see your sins before you pad them. Story 2. The bed that screamed. The hospital bed screeched at 1 a.m., its rusted metal frame forming a pale eyeless face that screamed silently, its wail piercing the stillness of a dimly lit New York psychiatric wardroom under a flickering, buzzing fluorescent bulb. I was a nurse on the graveyard shift, haunted by a misdiagnosis that led to a patient's fatal overdose, prescribing the wrong sedative. My doctor's words, "You're incompetent," ringing in my head like a relentless echo through the sterile Corridors. The air was heavy with bleach and a rotting, fishy stench seeping from the room's clogged vents. The space cluttered with tangled floor stands, blood-stained sheets, and a faint glint of broken needles scattered across the cracked linoleum. Floor. The face traced the words "Come closer" in glowing, jagged lines across the bed's rusted frame, pulsing red, as if written in blood oozing from the metal's corroded joints. The scream grew louder, the bed trembling violently, its frame splitting. To reveal carvings, my name, my failures, my lost patience, etched as if by invisible claws, pulsing with a sickly green light that stung my eyes like static burning through my vision. The air chilled, my breath catching in my throat, as the linoleum oozed black sludge, forming slimy hands that gripped my ankles, their icy touch scorching the floor with a burning chill that left faint, ashen scars on the tiles. Shadows danced. In the flashlight's beam, tall and impossibly thin, their void faces grinning with jagged, unseen teeth, their limbs stretching like twisted four-tubes crawling up the room's peeling walls. The wail swelled into a chorus naming my shame wrong. Doses, lifeless eyes, a career crumbling into ash growing, into a shriek that shook the ward's locked doors and rattled the windows. My radio died, then flared, its static showing figures rising from the sludge, dripping and clawing, their eyes glowing green, their mouths moaning my failures in a distorted, endless loop that echoed my mistakes. The sludge hands tightened. The words shifting to "you" called "US," the carvings bleeding black oil that reeked of decay, pooling into more accusing faces that writhed across the floor like living scars. The bed surged, its frame forming eyeless faces that screamed my name in a deafening, unearthly roar that felt like it could tear the ward's foundation apart. I tore for the hallway, sprinting past toppled IV stands as the room quaked, the flashlight sparking in bursts of flame, the figures lunging with clawing hands, their touch searing the air with a freezing burn that stung my skin. The sludge flooded the linoleum, forming countless faces, their shrieks chasing me into the corridors. Dim, flickering glow. I escaped, the ward trembling behind me, but my bed's hum at night, tracing "Come closer" in glowing lines across their frames, the stench of rot lingering in every sheet and pillow. Some beds sing your failures back to you. Story 3, The Hall That Breathed. The hallway pulsed at 2 a.m., its sterile tiles forming a pale, eyeless face that whispered softly, chilling my blood in a California psychiatric ward under a flickering, buzzing fluorescent bulb. I was a doctor on overnight duty, grieving. Patient's death from a surgical error on my operating table, a misplaced cut that led to fatal bleeding. Their family's words, "You're a murderer," burning in my memory like a scalpel through flesh. The air was sharp with antiseptic and a coppery, blood-like tang that stung my nostrils. The hall cluttered with dented gurneys, locked steel doors, and a faint glint of a dropped syringe catching the bulb's sickly light, casting jagged shadows across the walls. The face whispered "Stay with him" in their weak, dying voice, warped and hollow, accusing me of negligence during that fatal procedure. The tiles oozed black tar, reeking of decay, pooling into clawing hands that burned my legs with an acid-like heat that throbbed with each desperate step, leaving welts that pulsed with pain. The air grew heavier, the tiles thickening, dripping black oil that formed accusing faces, the patients, my colleagues, my own, their mouths moving silently, blaming me for the fatal slice under the operating room's harsh lights. My flashlight flickered, its beam revealing figures in the shadows tall, their limbs twisting like gnarled vines, scraping the gurney's rusted edges, leaving wet, glowing marks that pulsed green in the dark. The hallway screamed my name, the tar hands tightening, searing my skin with burns that lingered like scars, etched in guilt. The bulb flickered out, the ward closing in, the oil flooding the tiles, shaping countless faces that echoed my grief in a chorus of unrelenting rage, their eyes hollow yet piercing through my soul. The doors shook violently, the figures lunging with clawing hands, their screams deafening my senses, drowning out my own panicked breaths. I smashed through the emergency exit with a metal chair, my hands bleeding as the tiles splintered, the tar flooding, the faces roaring their name in a relentless, haunting wail that seemed to tear through the ward's oppressive silence. I fled to the parking lot, the ward splintering behind me, the screams chasing me through the humid, foggy night. I quit medicine, burned my scrubs, but my doors glow at night, forming my eyeless face in the metal, glowing faintly green in the dark. My hands burn with the word stay, etched into my skin like a brand, and the air smells of tar, whispering their name in the stillness. Some halls hold your guilt forever. Which of these psychiatric ward nightmares would you survive until dawn? Share your own chilling encounters in the comments. Have you ever felt eyes watching from the sterile shadows? Like the video, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. For more terrors from the darkness, something darker waits in the next cell. We'll see you there.